Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. If you and I don't know each other, I'd love to get to know you, especially if you are a veteran or the spouse of a veteran. Please comment below and let's have a conversation and maybe even feature you on a Military Mondays. So I am retired Major Brenda Sanchez. I was in the Air Force for 27 years, and now I like serving the business community and getting the word out about veteran businesses and helping them to acquire and retain their clients. And I bring you this show every single Monday morning to highlight veteran business owners or spouses that I have met in my networking journey. And I happen to have a rock star on today. I was extremely impressed when I met this gentleman online on an online Zoom networking. And I wanted to bring him here today to introduce him to all of you. So welcome to the show, Donald. I appreciate you taking time out of a Monday morning. And I know you're in Vegas, so it's a little earlier there. So thank you for taking some time out.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Very, very excited. Anything for you. You know, I wake up really early for you, Brenda. You know that.
Thank you, Donald. So Donald is, I can't say former Marine because there is no such thing as a former Marine. He was a captain in the Marine Corps, and now he's helping individuals and businesses with financial education. But I like to say, get the most out of your money and make it last the longest, make you not have to think about retirement, that it's a no-brainer. You can retire and you don't have to worry about that on the business side too. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's talk about your Marine Corps duty that you did, Donald, and what did you do in the Marine Corps?
Yeah, so I graduated from the Naval Academy, played football there, graduated in 2016, did the Marine Corps thing like most of the football players. It's kind of like a culture, you know, football locker room. And so people kind of naturally migrate to the Marine Corps. So went to the basic school, and that was right around the time where I had just gotten engaged to my now wife, but we had just gotten engaged at the time. And, you know, I thought I was going to go do the whole run around in the desert, you know, blow things up, shoot guns. And she was kind of like, whoa, what about me? And so we kind of sat and we talked about what do we want our, you know, lives to look like? What do we want our military career to look like? And we decided that there was a really, really cool MOS available called financial management. And, you know, my dad was in business. I was always very interested in business. And so I applied for it and ended up getting a spot in Miami, Florida, of all places. So I remember I walked into my, they're called your staff platoon commander, your SPC. And because I had already had orders to California, I thought I was going to Camp Pendleton like everybody else. And he said, I remember he was like, Pearson, I don't know how you did it. I was like, did what? He was like, you're going to Miami, Florida. What's in Miami, Florida? So it turns out there's a Marine Corps Forces South, which is a combatant command component of U.S. Southern Command in Northwest Miami. So I spent all 5 years of active duty in beautiful, sunny Miami, Florida.
And so talking about your military career, and obviously you're doing something very similar on the outside today. Getting feedback. What skills did you learn in the service other than obviously what you're doing today is what you did in the service? What are some of those soft skills or even hard skills that you learned that make you a successful business person today?
It's funny that you said soft skills first, because I think when people think, oh, finance, financial management, wealth management, I think people always think, oh, there's all this crazy formulas and math and graphs and charts, and you do all this analytical stuff, which is true. You know, computers do a lot of it. It's funny. It really is the difference between someone that's successful in this business and not really is the soft skills. So it's funny that you mentioned that first, and you got a little insight in the industry, so you know this. But no, to be honest with you, it was the greatest skill that I learned was the ability to say no, which is hard. You know, I was a 22-year-old guy handed over, you know, millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars. And it was my job to tell lieutenant colonels, generals, hey, you can't do that. Or if we're going to do this, we have to do it a different way. And that was really, really hard lesson to learn. But I mean, what a better skill set to have than to say, hey, this is the right way of doing things. This is by the book. There's this thing called pecuniary liability, which means if you mess up, it's my name at the bottom of the check. So when you start talking about real, like this isn't monopoly money anymore. Like this is real money. You have to, and what it is you have to be educated. So if I was going to say no to someone, if I was going to look a colonel in the face as a second lieutenant and say, sir, you cannot do that legally, I had to know my stuff. So it was really kind of what sent me down the perpetual rabbit hole of know everything. And if you know, or attempt to at least, and the stuff you don't know, you can always lean and leverage experience from other people, but you've got to know your stuff. And that really, so, I mean, the ability to say no, dive into dive into what it is that your job is. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me, for sure.
Well, I think too, your ability to say no, there's a lot more to that than just saying no. Mm-hmm. And you haven't said it, but I'm going to lean in a little. How do you be able to say no? You have to build what?
It's build trust and confidence. That's really
what
it is.
Thank you. Yep.
The first time you say no, because the answer is always, hey, we want to do this thing with it's a couple $1 million. And you say, well, no, we can't, but we can try this. So it's getting really creative with how do you stay within the parameters of appropriation law and still get the mission accomplished. So it was really creative, complex thinking patterns and collaboration across a bunch of different, you've got planners in there, you've got engineers in there, you've got the guys that are actually on the ground all coming together to say, hey, here's what we want to do. We're confined by the parameters of the way we spend this money. How can we go about doing it? So complex problem solving. And yeah, the first time you say no, if you come back and you've got, hey, this is why, boom, 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 people don't question you the next time. Right? So
yeah.
You've got to build it. You've got to earn that. And I didn't have that right away. So I really had to earn that.
Yep. Well, and I like the word you said was collaboration. And collaboration to me really is about building relationships and knowing each other's roles and responsibilities and coming together and collaborate and figuring out how to make it work. And that really is a relationship skill that I don't think many military members that are think about that soft skill they have. Military members have so many soft skills. And with moving around, you didn't move around. You were only at one station, but many military move from base to base and they have to start those relations. You jump in when you move at 3, 4, 5 every 3, 4, 5 years. And whether it's the kids, the spouse, or the military member, you've got to rebuild those relationships. Now you're in a new situation. And I just think that's such a strong skill that the military doesn't realize they have, unless people lean in and share that with them, because they just think, no, I've got the hard skills. Like you said, there's a lot of hard skills we learn in the military, but so many soft skills. So, of course, you did financial management and you took care of the corporate, we're going to say military corporate business. And that's what I believe has led you into doing what you do today, not just helping individuals, because you have a passion to help families too. But I know that your biggest passion is helping businesses to set up a succession plan, because most sole proprietors or small businesses don't even think about the day that what happens the day that they want to quit doing it. Do they just close up shop? What if they could have a plan to sell that business or have a succession plan? So let's talk a little bit about that and why you're so passionate about helping businesses to set themselves up properly for success and a legacy.
Yeah, and it really is kind of where my firm, I think, is unique in the fact that we have made a very deliberate approach to focus on what traditionally is, as far as financial services go, is a very underrepresented demographic in the country, which is kind of weird because when you kind of look at it, most businesses are small businesses. Like if you look at, there's only one Coca-Cola, there's only one Facebook, but there's hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of privately held businesses that make up, I mean, really the framework of our country. And as far as financial services go, have really been kind of neglected. And so what you have on one side is you have companies that will go in and do employee benefits, right? So they'll set up a 401k, they'll do health insurance, they'll do medical and dental insurance for the employees, which is great, and you need it. And the guys that do it are super good at it. And then on the other hand, you have kind of your traditional asset managers. You have the guys who are going to invest, your individual's money, which is, once again, they're really good at it. It's really important to have. But the business owner is kind of caught in the middle here, right? They need all the stuff for their employees. They need all the stuff for themselves. And there's never really been a firm that kind of plugs in and says, nope, this is exactly where we operate. We operate in the middle of these two demographics. And every business owner really has two balance sheets to worry about. They have their business's balance sheet, which is really, really important. They also have their personal balance sheet. And the two of them aren't in a vacuum. The two of them are linked. And business owners, and you're laughing because you probably understand this, is business owners leverage their business's balance sheet for their own personal gain. They leverage their own personal balance sheet for their business's gain. Yet the planning for the two has never come together as one. And so we just take a very deliberate approach to say, hey, here's your business, here's you, the two are linked forever and ever. And so coming up with a way to monetize on your ownership in a company, because more often than not, if you look at a business owner's balance sheet, their personal balance sheet, outside of their primary residence, and a lot of times, even including primary residence, the biggest asset they have is their ownership equity in the company that they've built. And when you do decide to leave your business, it's going to be the biggest financial transaction you've ever made in your life. And to your point, Brenda, most people don't really have a good path or a good plan of what they're going to do with that. I think people say, oh, I'm going to sell my business. And the thing with privately owned businesses is there's not a line wrapped around the street waiting to buy your widget business, right? You might have a great business. It might be very, very valuable. You have got employees, you employ them, you give them a living, your family has a great living, but that doesn't mean that someone's just going to come swoop in and buy your business for top dollar, especially when the owner is the one leaving, which more often than not, he's the most important piece to the puzzle. So why would someone pay top dollar for a business where the most important asset, the owner, is leaving? And so our plan really our planning process really starts with saying, okay, here's where we are today. We're going to leave the business at some point. 100% of the time, we're either selling it to an insider, selling it to an outsider, or we're just going to turn the lights off, like you said, at some point. But one of those three things, 100% of the time happens. So let's start planning for it now. And let's leave all three doors open. And I think that's really the key, is not shutting the doors and being stuck in, well, I guess I have to do it this way. It's because it's all just about optionality. We just want to give people the most options.
Yeah, I love that, because I always talk about with businesses, with what I do, is you should always have a plan B and a plan C. Ooh, I just got some feedback. Because it's true, you never know what's going to happen, and you don't know. Sit down with Donald and his company, because you don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or a year, especially with everything that's happened in the last year with COVID. What if you got sick? Now what's the plan? If you don't make that plan ahead of time, then there is no plan, and you're scrambling, and then you're trying to call Donald or somebody like that in the midst of it. And it's a lot harder to make things work when you're in the mess than before the mess happens. And you can have plans and it laid out for different reasons. So what words of advice would you give to somebody? I'm going to ask you two questions. I normally only ask one, but the first question I'm going to ask is around your business. So I don't care if they're civilian or military, who it is, it's a business owner. What words of advice would you have for a business owner right now? Maybe they've only been in business a couple of years, maybe they're brand new in business, but 3 to 5 years. What would you advise them to do? And then the second question, and I'll come back to it, is if somebody's in the military right now and getting ready to retire in 3 to 5 years, what advice would you give them? So we'll start with the business owner.
So it's funny, the two answers are actually going to be very, very similar, right? It's that there's this, and I think the military people, they really understand this. They really get this, but having a contingency plan in place. And what is that? There's this old adage, and I'm sure someone on the call is going to yell at me because I don't know the person who actually said it, but it's something to the effect of no plan survives first contact, right? Yep. We've kind of all heard that. We can have this beautiful plan laid out and arrows here, and these people are going to go here at this time, and life gets in the way, right? Something is going to happen, and we don't know what that is. So have a plan in place to say, okay, if I get sick, this happens. If I have to shut the lights off for 6 months because of COVID, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to survive. This is how I'm going to keep paying my employees. There's some business, shout out to my father-in-law is a small business owner. He runs a breakfast restaurant here in town. He had a contingency plan in place. He had enough money sitting in the bank account. He paid his employees the entire pandemic. They didn't work one day, but he kept paying them because he could. And when he could open up the doors, guess what? People came right back into work because they were like, whoa, this he's taking care of me, right? But you can only do that if you have the foresight to say, hey, things aren't always going to be peachy and rosy. Bad things in life happen. So have multiple contingency plans in place. And that's what we find the most. And it's the same with the people that are about to retire. I think there's kind of this notion that, I did 20 years. I'm going to get this awesome pension for the rest of my life and everything's great. And I never have to worry about a thing ever again. Well, not necessarily, right? So it's kind of one of those things like, okay, in a perfect world, this is what's going to happen. But we kind of have to have a little bit of foresight. We kind of have to look out and say, here's all the things that could happen. Let's be honest. With everything that's been going on, with all the money that's been getting printed out, I think there's, people go back and forth about like what direction their tax is going to go. And I have no idea what direction taxes are going to go. And I'll let people on the call decide for themselves what direction they think they're going to go. But let's think about it. What do we think might happen? Okay, what's a good plan in place to be able to kind of mitigate any changes that could happen that are kind of out of our control? So the answer to both, have contingency plans. Life isn't always perfect.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, definitely. Because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And I can promise you, I did. It's probably gotten the most views of all of my Military Mondays. And it was military retirement, a false sense of security. Because, and there's going to be haters. I already know because I've had them on that video saying, well, then you didn't plan properly. Well, 90% of the population is not planning properly. So those are the people I'm trying to talk to right now. They're the type of people that need to talk to Donald or a financial advisor or somebody to help you to put plans in place, because everything doesn't go perfect. Life is not perfect. We run into roadblocks all the time. And do you have plans when you hit that roadblock for a contingency, as Donald's saying? And most people don't. They see that rosy retirement and I'll be sitting pretty. And they don't think about, well, I just got sick, or I got hurt, or my wife got sick or got hurt, or kids or whatever. There are so many things that can derail that plan that in my personal opinion, you need a plan B and a plan C so that you can have what you want in life. Awesome. So anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to share today, Donald?
Really, what's really become kind of a passion of mine is in the transitioning process of people, because I've watched, classes, Naval Academy classes, friends, it's not just service grads, but I've watched people go into their transition from the military into civilian world, and you just hear all these terrible, horrible stories about, oh, like I couldn't get a job, or I got stuck in a job I didn't like, or whatever it is. You hear all these kind of bad things. And once again, kind of going into having some foresight, I was able to take advantage of resources that institutions will give to military members for free of charge. And I was able to go back to school. I was able to get professional designations. I was able to leverage the military in order to help me into my civilian career, so that when I started my career here, I wasn't a liability to my company. And I think that's the biggest mindset shift. And that's what I always try to tell people that ask me about transitioning from the military and how to do it successfully, is you can't go into an employer saying, what can you do for me? I'm a military vet. What can you do for me? The script has to get flipped. It's, I'm a military veteran. Here's what I can do for your company. And so I would just plead everybody, if you are thinking about transitioning, I mean, Google is an infinite resource, right? Hey, military scholarship for blank. I promise you it exists. I promise you can go back and get education, licenses, designations on the military's dime. So if you are thinking about transitioning and what that looks like, please, go into it with the mindset of, I want to be an asset on day one, not a liability, because that, I think, is the key to successfully moving from military to civilian life. And I just wanted to get that in there, because I think that's a very in vogue topic right now, I think, and a mindset shift that I think could be had by many.
Yeah, it's amazing. I did an interview 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about that transitioning vet and the first job out of the service. Most vets only last in that job, I think it's 18 months, he said. Yeah. And then they're on to the next. And there's a whole study about it, and he's trying to help to change those numbers. And so yes, exactly. You have to be prepared, and it's all about whether you're transitioning out of the service, or maybe you're a business owner right now watching. It's all about what you can do for the customer. And if you're the military member getting out, the customer is your new employer. Mm-hmm. And so how can I serve you? You served in the military. Flip that and make sure that when you go into civilian life, it's whether you own your own business or whether you're going to work for another employer. How can I serve you? Not how can they serve me? It's huge. It's the golden rule. We've all heard the golden rule. What's the golden rule, Donald? I'm going to put you on the spot. Hopefully you know it.
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Right. But what's wrong with that rule?
Nobody wants to do that.
Maybe they don't want to be treated the way you want to be treated. So there's a platinum rule. Tony Alessandra came up with the platinum rule, and it's treat others the way they want to be treated. And how do you do that? You get to know them, you get to know what their needs are, and you serve them. And when you're of service to others, everything else falls into place. And that's truly what Donald and his company do for businesses. So if you are a business owner, I highly recommend you reach out to Donald. If you're not a business owner and you're considering having a business or owning a business, you might want to reach out and talk to Donald even ahead of time, because he can give you some great words of wisdom and advice. So Donald, I do want to give a plug for your father-in-law, because, you know, any small business that's able to do that and pay their employees the entire time, I think he's there in Vegas, right? So let's give a plug.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
give a
I love
plug.
it. Absolutely, yeah. So the Omelet House is been around for 42 years. It's a Las Vegas local institution. It's just right off of the Strip. So when you come to Vegas and you spend a whole bunch of money on dinner, and you're spending in an expensive hotel, and you just want a good home cooked style classic American breakfast, you pop right off on the Strip, and his restaurant is 5 minutes away. And the 6 egg omelets, anything in the world you could ever think inside of it. So that's the Omelet House, Las Vegas. Check it out.
Awesome. I think actually my husband and I have been there. I'm gonna have to go Google it and make sure it's the place we've been. But I think we've been there a couple of times. And if it's the place we've been, Donald is absolutely right. They have amazing breakfast. So go check it out. Thank you so much for being on this morning, Donald. I really appreciate, again, you taking some time out early on a Monday morning there in Vegas. And, you know, I just appreciate you and what you do for businesses. So thanks again. And if you are a military business owner, or maybe you are the spouse of a military member and you have a business, I'd love to have a conversation with you and maybe see if you are a good fit for Military Mondays. So go to militarymondays.info. So that's Military Mondays with an S. .info. You can watch past episodes, or you can actually fill out the form and let me know that maybe you'd be interested in being on Military Mondays, and I will reach out to you and we'll have a conversation and see if it's a good fit. But in the meantime, I wish you all a fantastic week, and I will see you next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.